Take it as a lesson, Maris. Some people are just useless. The word stuck to the kitchen tiles like something spilled and never mopped. My mother didn't look up when she said it. She was smoothing the edges of a white envelope addressed to my brother, the numbers $100,000 breathing through the paper like a secret trying to escape. My name is Maris Hale. I'm 27. If the people who taught you love also taught you your worthlessness, how long before you start grading yourself on their curve? The house smelled like cardamom and furniture polish, Sunday heavy. I remember the way the dining chair faced the head of the table, like it was waiting for me to sit, while my father tapped his pen against mortgage forms he'd co-signed for my brother. They talked interest rates and smart investments, as if I were a gust of air passing through. When I told them I'd been approved for a tiny plot outside the city, rocks, weeds, a stubborn view, my mother pressed her lips into a patient line. "Don't beg," she said. "Build character." My brother grinned with the lazy confidence of a man whose ladder was installed at birth. "You'll visit, right?" he asked, already pocketing the spare key to a life I was not invited to enter. No one offered me a key to anything, only a word like a verdict. The only thing I took from that kitchen was the blue scarf hanging by the back door. It had been my grandmother's, soft as a breath, frayed at one edge where she worried it during stories. A small inheritance no one noticed, or maybe one they decided wouldn't matter. I wrapped it around my throat and left before they could watch me not cry. On the bus to my barren acre, the scarf's fringe kept catching on my fingers like it had something to say. I stared at my reflection in the window and wondered, if useless things are thrown away, why did the land feel like it had chosen me? 3 years later, when the phone finally lit the dark, my father's name glowed. I let it ring until the blue scarf stilled. Then I pressed play on a new silence. The scarf hangs now on the back of my chair, faded but stubborn, a tether to a grandmother who never once used that word, useless. I didn't answer my father's call that night. The voicemail bled into my phone instead, his voice lower than I remembered, carrying a crack I'd only heard once when his brother died. "Maris, your brother's car is outside your property. He's saying things I don't understand. Call me back." The message ended in a hollow click, like a door shutting. I stepped outside into air thick with summer insects, the night pressing against the land I had coaxed from weeds. My small house, timbers I'd bargained for, walls I'd painted with my own hands, stood at my back like a witness. In the fields, the soil was stubborn, but I'd learned to turn it season by season until it bent into rows of lavender and rosemary. The scent carried even in darkness, and sometimes I thought it healed me more than it fed me. And there he was, headlights carving slashes through the field, my brother's SUV tilted awkwardly by the road. I could just make out his figure, pacing, phone pressed tight against his ear. "Dad, I'm telling you, it's huge. You need to see it." His voice cracked into the night, panic where I had only ever heard swagger. He didn't see me, or maybe he did and didn't dare meet my eyes. The blue scarf shifted against my shoulders in the light wind, its fringe brushing my wrist like a reminder. The chair waiting at the table, the word waiting in my memory, useless. All of it came back in that moment, but quieter. I didn't call my father back. I simply watched my brother pace under my sky, on the edge of land they once told me would break me. The strange thing was, it didn't feel like revenge yet. It felt like the beginning of a confession that wasn't mine. The crunch of gravel under his boots carried across the night like a secret unwilling to stay buried. My brother, Grant, kept circling his SUV, talking faster, his gestures frantic. "Dad, I swear it's her land, but you don't understand what's on it. You need to come now." His voice cracked on the word need. I leaned against the porch railing, silent. The lavender behind me whispered in the dark. The scarf brushed my chin, and I thought of my grandmother humming when storms rolled in. Her way of saying storms weren't warnings, they were clarities. Grant kicked at the dirt, cursed into the phone. It's worth millions, Dad. Millions. And she doesn't even know what she has. The sentence fractured the night. My chest stayed still, but my hands tightened against the railing until they would left faint grooves in my palms. So that's why he came. Not for me, for what the ground carried. I remembered the day an old surveyor stopped by, mud clinging to his boots, eyes wide as he tapped his clipboard. You know there's a natural spring on this property? Not common around here. Could change everything. I'd nodded, not fully understanding, but I had felt the lands hum beneath me. Grant finally saw me. His mouth froze mid-word. You! His voice dropped, sharp with disbelief. You knew, didn't you? I didn't answer. He stepped closer, headlights framing him like an interrogation lamp. His face was a map of panic and entitlement stitched together. You're going to lose this land, Maris. Dad will never let this stand. The scarf's fringe tangled between my fingers, cool and soft, as if anchoring me. I met his gaze steady. Grant, I said, my voice even, this land isn't mine because they gave it to me. It's mine because it didn't spit me out. His jaw worked, fists clenching. The silence between us thickened, just before his phone lit again, vibrating with my father's name. The glow of his phone lit his face like a confession he couldn't hide. For a moment, I saw the boy he used to be, the one who held fireflies in jars and whispered to me not to tell. But that softness was gone before the second ring. Dad, she's here, Grant said into the receiver. His eyes never left mine. She knows. She's been sitting on this like a thief. A thief. My lips almost curved, though not in a smile. The scarf slipped from my shoulder, the fabric whispering against the porch floor. My grandmother used to say a scarf could hold the smell of a whole season if you let it. Tonight, it smelled faintly of lavender and rain. You don't belong here, Grant snapped suddenly, lowering the phone. You don't even know what this land means. Dad will take care of it, you'll see. You'll hand it over, because you owe us. The word "oh" landed harder than useless ever had. Oh, as though my existence were some debt accumulating interest. I tilted my head. Do I? The silence stretched so long that even the cicadas hushed. Grant shifted, uneasy, like the earth itself was listening for the answer. You'll regret this, he hissed. And then from the phone in his hand, my father's voice bled into the night, loud enough for both of us. Grant, stop talking. Just wait. Don't say another word until I get there. Grant froze, his knuckles white around the device. The headlights hummed, the air between us vibrating with something more than anger. That was when I understood. The land hadn't just chosen me. It had cornered them, too, revealing the cracks I wasn't supposed to see. I bent down slowly, picked up the scarf, and tied it back around my neck like a seal. Then wait, I said quietly. See what grows. The low rumble of an engine reached us before the dust did. Headlights carved a pale tunnel up the gravel road, swallowing the lavender rose until they blurred into darkness. My father's sedan stopped just short of Grant's SUV, its tires crunching with deliberate weight. The door opened slowly. He emerged with the same suit jacket he wore to every meeting, even here, where soil clung to shoes like memory. He didn't look at me. His eyes went straight to the ground, as if the earth itself had betrayed him. Maris, he said, voice flat, you should have told us. The words were not surprise, not wonder, only reprimand. My scarf tightened against my throat in the night breeze. Told you what? That this land has value, he snapped. That there's water, that it could change everything. Grant's relief was almost theatrical. See, Dad? I told you. She's been hiding it. I stepped off the porch. My boots pressed into the soil that had broken and cut my hands, soil I had bent into rows of something alive. I didn't hide anything. I just worked. Every day. Alone. He waved that away, impatient. This isn't about your pride, Maris. This is about family. About keeping what matters under one roof. The irony almost made me laugh. The roof they'd built for my brother, funded, furnished, blessed. And the one I'd hammered nail by nail, with no hand to steady the beam. My father's gaze finally lifted to mine. For the first time I saw fear there, veiled but sharp. "You'll sign it over," he said, softer but heavier. "You'll do the right thing." The scarf's fringe brushed against my lip, tasting of salt and wind. "I already did the right thing," I whispered. "I stayed." Grant flinched, as though the land itself had spoken through me. The night felt split, half silence, half storm. My father's jaw tightened as he stepped closer, his shoes sinking slightly into the softened dirt. He looked down at it, almost disgusted, as though the ground clinging to him were proof of something beneath him. "Don't be foolish," he said. "Do you have any idea what developers would pay for this? Do you understand what you're sitting on?" I let my fingers trail through the lavender beside me, its fragrance lifting into the air like a shield. "Do you?" I asked softly. Grant barked a laugh, too sharp. "She's bluffing, Dad. She doesn't know the first thing about land value. She barely scraped by. Look at her house, like a shed that forgot to fall down." I met his eyes steady. "Yet you're the one parked outside it in the middle of the night." That silenced him. My father's tone shifted, almost pleading now. "Maris, listen to me. This isn't about money. It's about family. If we sell, we all benefit. You'll have your share." My chest tightened, not at the promise, but at the word share. After years of emptiness, suddenly they could carve me a slice if I surrendered the whole. The scarf stirred against my neck. My grandmother's voice returned in memory. "Not every offer is kindness. Some are cages with a ribbon." I straightened. "You gave Grant his ladder," I said quietly. "You told me to build my own." "I did. And now you want me to hand it back, because suddenly it reaches higher than you thought." Grant's face twisted, rage or fear, I couldn't tell. My father's silence was worse. It was calculation. The cicadas picked up again, filling the pause with their relentless hum. The night itself seemed to ask, "Who here is truly useless?" And then my father said the thing that broke the ground beneath us. "Maris, if you don't sign, you'll lose more than land." The words landed like a blade pressed flat against my skin, not cutting but threatening. My father's eyes held mine, dark and deliberate, while Grant shifted beside him like a boy who'd just been promised a rescue. "Lose more than land." I repeated, my voice low. The lavender swayed between us, carrying the scent of something both fragile and enduring. He didn't answer. That silence was worse than an admission. The scarf slid slightly as I breathed, its fringe brushing my collarbone, grounding me. I remembered my grandmother's hands tying it gently around my neck when I was a child. "Never let them tell you the ground beneath you isn't yours," she had whispered. Back then, I thought she meant the backyard. Now I knew she meant survival. I took a slow step forward. "You already made me lose family once," I said, steady. "Do you want to make it twice?" Grant scoffed. "You're acting like some martyr. Nobody wronged you. We just gave where it mattered." I almost smiled. "Yes, you gave, and called me useless. And I took it. I left you alone. I asked for nothing. But now," I swept my hand across the rows of lavender, the faint glimmer of water pooling near the spring, the house behind me, standing tall despite its scars. "Now you're the ones who need." Grant's phone buzzed again. He glanced at it, his fiancée's name lighting the screen. He silenced it quickly, shame flickering across his face. I filed it away. Cracks always widened. My father exhaled, the sound jagged. "You'll regret this choice, Maris." I tied the scarf tighter, the knot resting against my pulse. "Maybe," I said, "but regret is lighter than debt." The headlights dimmed as his car idled. For a heartbeat, it felt like they might leave. Then Grant whispered, almost trembling, "She doesn't know what she started." Grant's words echoed into the night, but the ground beneath us held steady, humming with the quiet truth I had learned alone. My father looked at me one last time, calculation slipping into something closer to defeat. His hand hovered at the car door, uncertain. "You'll regret it," he repeated, though softer now, like he was trying to convince himself. I let the silence answer him. Silence had always been their punishment for me. Tonight it was mine for them. Grant muttered curses, pacing like a caged animal. But even he seemed smaller under the weight of the lavender-scented air. The spring bubbled faintly in the distance, as if reminding me that time and water carved stone without ever shouting. They left together, headlights pulling away, swallowed by the dark road. For the first time, the night belonged only to me again. I walked the rows slowly, the scarf loose around my neck, catching the dew. I thought of every word they had given me. Useless, foolish, thief. Words are easy inheritances to hand down, but the land, the silence, the work of my hands, those were mine. Days later, a letter came. An offer stamped with a company's name I didn't recognize, numbers heavy enough to stagger anyone else. At the bottom, my father's initials marked the recommendation. I folded it carefully, placed it in the drawer with the scarf when I took it off each night. Some things don't need answering. Instead, I planted more lavender, rows upon rows until the fields blurred into purple sea. When the wind passed, it carried a fragrance too wide to be caged. Sometimes neighbors ask how I managed it all alone. I just smile, tug the scarf not lightly, and let the silence speak for me. Because useless things don't root. They bloom.